young folks. I'm really pleased.
Yeah. The old flat really expecting 6 beds to a delay. Yeah. Well, it's going to be a lot of circles. I think so.
I'm just glad. I was just worried that
So it's a promotion. Great, great, thank you.
Hello? Hello?
Wow. Where on Old Street? My favorite type of shop is Goswell, where clock and Milton's in Old Street. It's on Red Dot. I go there. That's my secret. How are you? Hi. Cool. Very good. Hi. Assalamu alaikum. Hi. Wherever you want.
I think Frank put your stuff out there. Frank got your kitchen out after the fun.
Oh great, you can sit with him over here or you can sit wherever you want. Just relax. Great. Sure. Glad you
I've got your special needs thing.
Because the deadline is down today, so the track works.
Yes, when I get the mix, I could be opposite thing. Yeah, fine, we'll make sure.
So I think I'm fine, everything's fine. No, I'm not really to have to ice too much. Not that day, another day. I haven't been looking at it, unfortunately.
Oh, wow.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. And welcome to our guests. On this beautiful morning. Right, are we ready, musicians? And let's turn over to page 1, 2. Start 129, 129, and please stand, everybody. Source of light, of truth, and of the impulse within us towards justice and mercy. May this hour of worship be one of vision and inspiration. Help us to find knowledge by which to live, that the words we speak enter our hearts and influence our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in search of you or in need of comfort and consolation. May the offering of their hearts be acceptable to you, and may the prayers we utter here bear fruit in acts of kindness, peace, and love. We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe. You sanctify us with your commandments and enjoin us to study your teachings. With what shall I approach the Eternal One? Shall I come before God with burnt offerings? Will God be pleased with thousands of rams?
With 10,000 rivers of oil.
Should I give my firstborn for my transgressions?
Fruit of my body for the sins of my soul.
People tell you what is good, but what does the Eternal One require of you?
Only to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God.
These are actions which bring benefit here and now, but whose full value can be measured only in the light of eternity. Honoring one's father and mother, acts of love and kindness, diligent pursuit of knowledge and wisdom, hospitality to strangers, visiting the sick, enabling bride and groom to rejoice, consoling the bereaved, praying with sincerity, and making peace where there is strife, and the study of Torah leads to them all. Eternal God, may the words of Torah taste sweet to us and to all Israel, that we and our children and all the children of your people may come to know you by studying Torah. We praise you, O God, teacher of your people Israel. Baruch Shamar Bahaya Haolam Baruch Hu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamehulal b'fi amo, v'shubach, v'far v'lshon chasidav v'avanav, b'shvachot, zmirot, negadelcha v'namlicha malkeinu, Yachid Chai Ha'olamim.
Baruch atah Adonai, melech haolam.
Sing for joy to the Eternal One, you who are righteous.
For the upright do well to give praise.
Give thanks to the Eternal One with the lyre.
Make music to God with the 10-stringed harp.
Sing to God a new song.
Play well with shouts of joy.
For God's word holds good.
God's every deed is done in faithfulness.
The Eternal One loves righteousness and justice.
The earth is full of God's kindness.
By the Eternal One's word the heavens were made.
And all their hosts by the breath of God's mouth.
At the divine command the ocean waves rise.
Gather and stand in the vaults of the deep.
Let all the earth revere the Eternal One,
Let all who dwell there stand in awe of God.
who spoke, and it was. How shall I sing of day and night when it is God who formed them? How shall I sing of heaven and earth when it is God who founded them? How shall I sing of mountains and hills when it is God who planted them? How shall I sing of deserts and seas when it is God who begot them? How shall I sing of earth and her fullness when it is God who bade them be? I shall sing of the one who fashioned them all, the one who is above them all. Of God, God alone, I shall sing. Halel v'zimra, brachot v'hodaot, ve'atah, va'adolam, Baruch atah Adonai, habocher b'shirei zimra. Baruchu et Adonai hamvorach. Baruch Adonai hamvorach. Praise you, Eternal One, our God, sovereign in the universe, maker of light, creator of darkness, author of peace, and creator of all things. In your mercy, you give light to the earth and all who live on it. And in your goodness, you renew creation continually, day by day. How manifold are your works, O God. With wisdom have you made them all. The world is full of your creations. Your handiwork proclaims your praise. The radiant stars bear witness to your glory. We praise you, O God, creator of love. Ahava Rabbah, Ahavtanu, Adonai Eloheinu. Chemla Gedola V'terach Hamalta Aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu. Ba'avor Avotenu Shivatchu V'cha. Batlamdei B'chukei Chayim. Ken Tuchonenu Uklamdenu. V'ten Blibenu Lavinu L'haskil. Lishmoa, Lilmod, Ulamed. Lishmor v'la'asot, ukayem et kol divrei Toratecha, b'hava, v'ha'erenenu b'Toratecha, v'nabek livenu b'mitzvotecha, yached levaveinu lahava u'yira et shemecha, כי בנו בחרת יחדך באהבה. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher ba'amo Yisrael ba'ahava. And please rise. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Asher Anochi Mitzavecha Hayom Al Levavecha V'shinantam Levanecha V'dibarta Bam V'shivtecha V'veitecha V'vlevtecha V'aderech V'shochtecha V'vkulecha V'shartam La'ot Al Yadecha V'hayu L'totafot Beinenecha V'chatam Al Mezuzot Veitecha V'visharecha. Please be seated. Sound, established, and enduring are these words now and forever. True, it is eternal one that you are our sovereign God and Redeemer. As you were the God and Redeemer of our ancestors, you are our Maker, the rock of our salvation. We have known you always as our helper and our liberator. There is no God but you. Truly, you are first and you are last. We have no Redeemer but you. Redeemed us from Egypt and freed us from the house of bondage. And then with great joy, Moses, Miriam, and all Israel together sang to you this song. Chadasha, Shivachu, Geulim Lashimcha al Svatayam, Yachad Kulam, Hodu Vihim Lichu, Va'amru. Eternal God, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chastei Avot V'imahot, V'mevi Geulah Livnei B'neihem, L'ma'an Shmo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayim Eitim Atah Rav L'Moshiach, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGeshem, Mazriach HaShemesh U'Morid HaTal, Mechakel Chayim B'Chesed, Mechayim Eitim B'Rachamim Rabbi, Somech Noflim V'Rofech Olim, U'Matir Asurim, U'Mkayim Emunato L'Shenei Afar, Mi Chamocha Ba'al Giburot, Umi Domelach, Melech Meimitum Chaye, U'Masmiach Yeshua, V'Ne'eman Atala HaChayot Meitim, Baruch Atah Adonai, Michaye HaMeitim. We sanctify your name on earth, as in the prophet's vision the hosts of heaven sing your praise above, for so it is written,
Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh,
Kevodo Male Olam. Malkeinu Tofia, v'timloch aleinu ki mechakim anachnu lach. From generation to generation we will make known your greatness. To the end of time we will proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O our God, shall never depart from our lips. We praise you, eternal one, the holy God. Please be seated. You inspired our ancestors to hallow this day for your service. When upon its coming we pause to contemplate our life, we learn in you that we do not live by bread alone, but also by the spiritual nourishment we receive when we open ourselves to your influence. We thank you for the Sabbath day, and for the opportunity it offers to enhance the quality of our lives. We thank you for its joy, for its peace. May our worship help us to take into our hearts its message of holiness, consecrate all our days by devotion to what is true, beautiful, and good. May our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. Sanctify us by your commandments, and make us loyal to your teaching. Satisfy us with your goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, eternal one, let the holiness of your Sabbath enter our hearts, and may all Israel who hallow your name be exalted by its peace. We praise you, O God. Eternal God, be gracious to your people Israel, and in your love accept their prayers. May our worship now and always be acceptable in your sight. We praise you, O God, whom alone we worship in reverence. Modim anach nulach, sha'atahu Adonai Eloheinu l'Elohei avotenu le'olam va'ed. Tzur chayenu magen yishenu, atahu ledor vador. Nodeh lecha u'sater tilatecha, al chaynu hamizrim biyadecha. Nishmotenu hapukadot lach, Dial nisecha shebachol yom imanu, ונפלותיך וטובתך, שבכל עת ערב והבוקר בצהריים, ברוך אתה אדוני, הטוב שמך ולך נאה להודות. שים שלום טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ברחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך. ברכנו אבינו, כולנו כאחד באור פניך, כי באור פניך נתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו, תורת חיים ואהבת חסד, וצדקה וברכה ברחמים וחיים ושלום. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל, וכל העמים, בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. ברוך אתה אדוני עושה השלום. Sukkot, so we have a little bit of waving to do. Let's see, I've got 6 sets, so if people don't mind doing some sharing, and I will favor people who haven't done it yet. It's very easy. So for those who need reminding, here we have our lulav, and we have our etrog. And these are holdovers from really primordial, ancient rituals about seeking rain. And the plants, the trees blowing in the wind. Yeah? And fertility. And in the Middle East, if the rain doesn't come at the right time and in the right amounts, then you're in trouble. Your crops are in trouble. So it's often been said that religions are better at taking old rituals and giving them new meanings rather than making up purely new rituals. And because these really primordial things somehow affect us. So, I mean, it's such a beautiful day, I don't want it to rain. But you never know, it starts lightning and thundering 5 minutes after we do this. So, it's in a way, it's like a superstition. It's just sympathetic magic, if you're an anthropologist. But it reminds us of the times of the vulnerable farmers, and also in Sukkot how they dwelled in these little booths, these makeshift booths during the harvest. And of course that was taken as a metaphor for how the Hebrews dwelled in the wilderness when they were fleeing Egypt and heading towards freedom, whatever that is. So let's see. Here, how to YouTube. Let's see, how would you two like to share? I will make it very easy. Now what you can also do is just put your fingernail very lightly in the skin and just smell it. It's just so wonderful. It's really fresh. Okay, here you two share. Okay. Now how you decide to share is really up to you. I'm not going to micromanage.
You two, yeah.
The two beauties are all. Thank you.
Okay. Got 2 more sets.
Alan and Pam. Alan and Pam.
Hannah, you've had a chance.
I've had a chance.
You've had a chance. Lewis,
Alan and
you've had a
Pam.
chance. Stephen, have you had a chance?
He's had a go, yeah.
Alan, you've had a chance. Pam, you've had a chance, yeah? So, Lewis, here you go. Here you go. The only thing I ask is don't be tempted to scratch anybody's back, especially the people in front of you, because they're quite sharp. Okay. Also, since we'll be finished with these, this is the last time we'll use them at this service, so if anybody wants to take them home, you're welcome to take them. The leaves or the fruit. There's I mentioned this a few days ago, but there at Oxford in the Botanical Gardens, there's a wonderful, wonderful etrog tree with really big ones. And so maybe one of you might be tempted to, I don't know, dry the seeds and see what happens.
Maybe try it appropriate.
Yeah, go up to Oxford and find out about getting it fertilized or something at the Botanical Gardens. Yeah. And see all the varieties of apples and pears that you never see anymore in the supermarkets. Yeah, really wonderful. Okay, so just before we begin this, and again I'll make it as easy as possible, I'll indicate which directions to stand, when to hold it up, and when we hear the word Adonai, which is for the Lord, we pause for a moment and go again, and then we go down in the different directions. We're sort of tweaking the clouds or something. I don't know. Right, it's symbolism. Symbolism that binds us together. So on page 467, there's the bracha about waving the lulav. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al netilat lulav. And let's turn the page. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu likro et ha'halel. Hallelujah. Give praise, O servants of the Eternal One.
Praise the name of the Eternal One.
Let God's name be praised now and forever. Exalted above the nations is Israel's God. Who can be compared to our God who's enthroned on high? Who raises the poor from the dust
Lifts up the needy from the gutter.
To give them a place among the great.
Leaders of the people. Hallelujah.
Let's turn the page over. Not to us, but to your name, Eternal One, let glory be given for your constant love and truth.
Why should the nations ask, where is their God? When our God is on high, God's will prevails.
Their idols are silver and gold.
The work of human hands.
They have mouths but cannot speak, eyes but cannot see.
They have ears but cannot hear, noses but cannot smell.
They have hands but cannot touch, feet but cannot walk. No sound comes from their throats.
Those who make them and all who trust them become one.
O Israel, trust in the Eternal One, your help and your shield.
I house of Aaron, trust in the Eternal One, your help and your shield.
All God-fearing people, trust in the Eternal One, your help and your shield.
God will remember us and bless us. Bless the house of Aaron, bless the house of Israel. Bless all God-fearing people, both small and great.
May God increase your numbers, yours and your children's.
May you be blessed by the Eternal One, maker of heaven and earth.
The heavens belong to God.
But the earth God has given to humankind.
The dead cannot praise God, nor any who descended to silence.
But we will praise God now and forever. Hallelujah.
Now let's turn over to 474. And in the middle, our musicians will sing Psalm 117. There'll be a very brief pause, right, Mary? You'll give us a moment. And then everybody jump up and face that way and just sort of follow my lead. Yeah? And we'll get it raining. I cried out to God. God is with me. I am not afraid. God is my helper. It is better to take refuge in God than to rely on human beings.
It is better to take refuge in God than to rely on those in power.
God is my strength and my shield.
And has become my salvation.
Hear glad songs of triumph in the tents of the righteous.
The Eternal One does mighty deeds.
God's power is supreme.
The Eternal One does mighty deeds.
I shall not die but live. Open for me the gates of righteousness.
Let me enter them and give thanks to God.
This is the gate of the Eternal One. Okay, now we'll have a little bit of singing, and then at the bottom of the page, when you hear Ana Adonai, we'll jump up just before that, and then we'll wave in the four directions, but only up, not down. Okay? That's a bit mysterious. Okay? And then a tiny bit of reading, and then we'll have one more up and down, and then They're yours to take home. Okay. Right, Mary? Blessed are you who come in God's name.
In God's house may be blessed.
You are my God, and I thank you.
You are my God.
Okay, let's face this way, and just one more up and one more down. We've also got these plastic, where did I put them? Yeah, plastic bags over there. You can store them in if you want to carry them. And we have little boxes for the fruits with like foam padding. So that's, yeah.
The plastic bags.
Probably not a good thing to take to the airport today. You might get stopped.
Really high on those.
Okay.
You can fight over them.
So just for our guests, this is something that we only do at this particular festival. It happens in the autumn, once a year. So I really enjoy doing it. I'm always kind of sad when that bit is over.
It's like the Harvest Festival.
Yeah, the Harvest Festival. Yeah, and hoping that the crops for the next harvest will be okay. Absolutely. So let's turn over to page 481 for our Torah service. There is none like you, eternal one, among the gods people worship. There are no deeds like yours. Your sovereignty is everlasting. Your reign endures from age to age. Eternal One, you reign, you have reigned, you will reign forever. Eternal God, give strength to your people. Eternal God, bless your people with Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Eternal One is our God, the Eternal God is one. Let us magnify the Eternal One. Together, let us exalt God's name. Oh yes, we have birthday blessings. This is a custom. The last Saturday, the last Shabbat of the month, anybody who's had a birthday in the preceding month, come up and get your blessing. Do we have any Septembers?
August.
August? I'll take the blessing.
Come on up.
Yeah.
Come on up.
I
Come on up. August, September, October if you're going away.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Okay, we can come back.
He can come back in October or come down to now.
Anybody who's feeling a little bit neglected by your family or friends, come on out and make you feel better. Anybody feeling taken for granted? Okay. Well then, come on.
Mine's October, but I'll be away during
Okay, wonderful. So, Mazel Tov, congratulations on your birthdays. May God bless you and keep you. May God look kindly upon you and be gracious to you. And may God reach out to you both in tenderness and give you peace. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha. Shalom. Well done. At ease. Okay. So we have a special reading from the scroll for Chol HaMoed Sukkot, and it's towards the end of Exodus. It's Exodus chapter 34, verses 1 to 8. In the JPSA in this book, it's page 138 near the bottom of the page. In the Psalm Chino, it is page 560. 560. And
That one.
yeah, that's the one. So the Sanchino has Hebrew as well as English. So what's going on is normally at this time of year we'd be at the very, very end. But we're saving that for tomorrow night and Monday when we go from the very end, Deuteronomy with Prophet Moses' death, and then we go immediately back to the creation story at the beginning of Genesis. And this one is a special one for the festival, and the theme is renewal. So we might say that the harvest and the crops and the rain, that's about a kind of a physical renewal. We're hoping for renewal of sustenance, yeah? And this is about spiritual renewal. So the scene is after the episode of the golden calf, when the people were very anxious, because Prophet Moses was up in the mountain for a long time, getting the 10 Commandments and everything. He was away for a long time, and the people started getting into a bit of idolatry because they were very anxious. Yeah, so when people are very insecure, they do things that might not be the best things to do. And it reminds me, in a way, coming back to what I was speaking about Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, is, we have these various leaders that we may not particularly like. Well, part of it has to do with the ordinary people feeling anxious and insecure and looking for people to give them immediate, easy answers. Yeah? And we could say that idolatry is something that's material and it's searching for immediate sort of comfort and gratification. Yeah? Whereas God is mysterious and ethically demanding, not always comfortable. So when people are very, very insecure, there may not be the ability to respond to ethical demand, but really the only interest is in some comfort and solace. So what has happened is Moses got really angry and frustrated with the people, and he threw down the 10 Commandments. They're shattered, and he's going to go back up to the mountain to get some new tablets. And he begs God for forgiveness for the people. And then we hear Adonai El Rachum V'Chanun, the great words from Yom Kippur. So God is merciful and compassionate. And the word Rachamim, yeah, that's our word for mercy. In Arabic, Rachaman, yeah, same thing. And the root of the word is Rechem, which is a woman's womb. So the seat of mercy is a woman's womb. Okay. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMvorach. Baruch Adonai HaMvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai notei ha'torah. The Lord said to Moses, carve 2 tablets of stone like the first, and I will inscribe upon to the 1000th generation, forgiving iniquity, transgression, and sin. Yet he does not remit all punishment, but visits the iniquity of parents upon children and children's children, on the 3rd and 4th generations. Moses hastened to bow low to the ground in homage and said, if I have gained your favor, O Lord, pray let the Lord go in our midst, even though this is a stiff-necked people. Pardon our iniquity and our sin, and take us for your own. Vayomer Adonai al Moshe, P'su lecha shnei luchot avanim karishonim, v'katavti al haluchot et hadivarim asher hayu al haluchot harishonim, asher shibarta, v'hiye nachon laboker, v'alita baboker el har Sinai, v'nitzavta li sham al rosh hahar. Ish lo ya'aleh imach, gam ish al yera b'chol hahar, gam hatzon v'habakar, al yiru el mul hahar hahu. Vayifsol shnei luchot havanim karishonim. Vayashkem Moshe baboker. Vaya'al el har Sinai, ka'asher tziva Adonai oto. Vayikach biado shnei luchot havanim. Vayered Adonai be'enan, v'yatsev imo sham. Vayikra b'shem Adonai. V'ya'avor Adonai al panav. Vayikra Adonai Adonai el rachum v'chanu. Erech apayim v'rav chesed v'emet. Notzer chesed lalafim. Nosei avon v'fesha v'chata'a. V'nakeh lo yenakeh. Poked avon avot. Al banim v'al b'nei vanim. Al shleishim v'al rebeim. Imaher Moshe v'yikod arza. Yishtachu. V'yomer. Im na matzati chen b'einecha. Adonai yelechna. Adonai b'kirbenu. Ki am kashe oref hu. V'salachta. L'hanenu. U'chatatenu. U'chatanu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten hatzon. And let's
Baruch shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato.
please be seated, everybody.
I've been asked to read Kings on page 531 of the Tanakh. First Kings chapter 8, verses 1 to 21. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher b'chol nimdiim tovim v'ratzah v'divrei Anemarim be'emet, Baruch atah Adonai, Havocher b'Torah, Moshe Avdo u'Vindiei Amor, Agudah v'Yisrael, v'Avdo v'Yisrael Amor u'Vindiei Ha'emet v'Sedek. Then Solomon convoked the elders of Israel, all the heads of the tribes and the ancestral chieftains of the Israelites, before King Solomon in Jerusalem, to bring up the ark of the covenant of the Lord from the city of David that is Zion. All the men of Israel gathered before King Solomon at the feast, in the month of Ethanim, that is the 7th month. When all the elders of Israel had come, the priests lifted up the ark and carried up the ark of the Lord. Then the priests and the Levites brought the tent of meeting and all the holy vessels that were in the tent. Meanwhile, King Solomon and the whole community of Israel, who were assembled with him before the ark, were sacrificing sheep and oxen in such abundance that they could not be numbered or counted. The priests brought the ark of the Lord's covenant to its place underneath the wings of the cherubim, in the shrine of the house, in the Holy of Holies. For the cherubim had their wings spread out over the place of the ark, so that the cherubim shielded the ark and its poles from above. The poles projected so that the end of the poles were visible in the sanctuary in front of the shrine, but they could not be seen outside, and there they remain to this day. There was nothing inside the ark but the 2 tablets of stone which Moses placed there at Horeb when the Lord made a covenant with the Israelites after their departure from the land of Egypt. When the priest came out of the sanctuary, for the cloud had filled the house of the Lord, and the priests were not able to remain and perform the service because of the cloud. for the presence of the Lord filled the house of the Lord. Then Solomon declared, "The Lord has chosen to abide in a thick cloud. I have now built for you a stately house, a place where you may dwell forever." Then, with the whole congregation of Israel standing, the king faced about and blessed the whole congregation of Israel. He said, "Praise be the Lord, the God of Israel, who has fulfilled the deeds, the promise he made to my father David, for he said, ever since I brought my people Israel out of Egypt, I have not chosen a city among all the tribes of Israel for building a house where my name might abide, but I have chosen David to rule my people Israel." Now my father David had intended to build a house for the name of the Lord, the God of Israel. But the Lord said to my father David, "As regards your intention to build a house for my name, you did right to have that intention. However, you shall not build the house yourself. Instead, your son, the issue of your loins, shall build the house for my name." And the Lord has fulfilled the promise that he made. I have succeeded my father David and have ascended the throne of Israel, as the Lord promised. I have built the house for the name of the Lord, the God of Israel, and I have set a place there for the ark, containing the covenant which the Lord made with our fathers when he brought them out of the land of Egypt. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, sur kol ha'olamim, Zadik b'chol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, v'omer v'oseh, Daber Kayen Shachol Devaro Emet Basere. For the Torah, for the privilege of worship, for the prophets, and for this Sabbath day which you, eternal God, have given us for holiness and rest, for honor and beauty, for all these we offer thanks. May all the living come to praise your name forever. We praise you, O God, for the holiness of the Sabbath.
Page 484. Eternal God, whose dominion embraces the universe, we ask your blessing for our Sovereign Lady, Queen Elizabeth, and all the royal family, for those who govern our country and all who influence the quality of its national life. Make them conscious of their responsibility and teach them to exercise it in accordance with your will. May we all help to fashion in this country a society that excels in freedom, justice, tolerance, and compassion, so that it may be a force for righteousness and peace in the life of humanity. Eternal God, as you blessed our ancestors in generations past, bless now this congregation, its leaders, its members, and all who enter this synagogue to meet, to study, and to pray. Comfort the sorrowing hearts among us and heal those in anxiety or pain. I'm especially thinking right now of the family of Alan Bliss. Maybe somebody here knows Marion Bliss or daughter Sam. Alan passed away last night at St. Luke's, cancer. Also, hope Mike is doing well this week.
Yes, he's
Good. And would anybody like to mention the name of a relation or a friend?
Stanley Jacobs.
Yes. Stanley, yeah.
I'd like to mention a friend of mine who actually is a member downstairs, Emma Brooks, who's in Norfolk Park Hospital at the moment.
May we all find here community, friendship, renewal of purpose and hope, a deeper understanding of our heritage and a sense of your abiding presence. Bless all congregations of the House of Israel throughout the world. Let those who live under oppressive rule soon be freed, and may we all unite to witness to your truth and do your will. Eternal God, our rock and redeemer, grant blessing to the state of Israel, created to fulfill an age-old dream and to be a haven for the oppressed. Inspire its leaders and citizens with faithfulness to the aims of its founders, to develop the land for the benefit of all its inhabitants, and to implement the prophetic ideals of liberty, justice, May they live in harmony with one another and in peace with their neighbors, and cause to come true once more the ancient vision that out of Zion shall go forth Torah and the word of God from Jerusalem. Hallelujah, Shem Adonai, King Nesgav Shemo Levado. Let us praise the Eternal One, whose name alone is exalted. Teaching is perfect. God's word is unfailing. God's precepts are right. God's commandments are clear. God's doctrine is pure. God's guidance is true. Behold, a good doctrine has been given you. Do not forsake it. It is a tree of life to those who hold it fast, and all who cling to it find happiness. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths our peace. I'll just make some very brief remarks this morning of what I got up to this week, which was really a great privilege. Being invited to a conference at Harris Manchester College at Oxford, being conducted by, you'll love this one, the Center for the Resolution of Intractable Conflict, CRIC. And this is, I've mentioned it before, but this is the center that was founded by Lord John Alderdice, whom I've gotten to know. And John was one of the key people, the Good Friday Agreement in Northern Ireland. John from the Alliance Party, which is made up of both Protestants and Catholics, and they were the ones that really got things going for a peace agreement. And that peace agreement became possible when it was finally decided to actually include Sinn Féin and also the IRA in those talks. Because no matter how you may label people as being extremists, they have to be included in the negotiations. And that's really the only time that those people will feel heard and will feel sufficiently empowered to drop the violence and can bring in their supporters into have a stake in the peace agreement. And it has held. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than what went on before. So John is tremendously experienced in all this, and it was a privilege to be invited to the conference and moreover to present a paper. So I just want to run through, this is from Tuesday to Thursday, and just run through some of the things that occurred, some of the papers that were presented, and why they were so fascinating. So there's about between 30 and 40 people there from all over the world. The first paper was presented by a man named Scott Atron, and this was titled "The Crisis of Cultures and the Vitality of Values." I should say that the title of the whole conference was Freedom and Fragmentation. So Scott's paper, "The Crisis of Cultures and the Vitality of Values, a commentary on Emmanuel Macron's declaration of the need for religion." Now this is really interesting. We know that in France it's considered to be a very secular state. You know, the controversy about hijabs and so on, and people not wearing religious garments in public, and the real separation between state and religion. Well, Macron very recently referred to the Pope as a moral model, and that rituals and symbols that are in religion and the transcendent values and purpose and meaning that those things help create. And he feels that these very much echo the secular civil society values. So the finest values of religion about kindness, mercy, justice, meaning, purpose, how we behave towards each other, how we should, those are actually synonymous with the best of the secular values, as civil society values. And absolutely, we shouldn't be into binary black and white distinctions between the civil, the secular versus the religious. And that was apparently quite a statement in France, and a lot of people didn't even notice it. It was actually quite extraordinary. Lydia Wilson followed. She's a scholar at Oxford, and she spoke about countering violent extremism and how in this country it's like it's an industry, and various consultants and all kinds of programs, and they have all these studies which are actually really flawed because they're simply commissioned by the politicians, and they want the studies to support what the politicians are saying because that's what their own supporters believe. And so we have failures, like, for example, the PREVENT program, which is a really grotesque failure. And how, if you look at the methodology of these studies that are being made, the methodologies are incredibly flawed. And Lydia pointed out some real absurdities. Then we had something very, very fascinating. A scholar from Iran, Bijan Kajipur, a constructive approach to resolving the Saudi-Iranian conflict. Now, in the papers and in our stereotypes, we think, oh, this is Sunni versus Shia and all that kind of stuff. So what's going on between Saudi and Iran, according to this Iranian, is very much about hard power and soft power. Which of these countries, as nations, as political entities, will have the most power in terms of strength and also in terms of cultural and religious influence in the Middle East and around. And we need to look at the conflict through that lens. And there's lots of proxy wars going on between Saudi and Iran all over the Middle East. So what is he doing about it? He's gathered a group of Iranians and Saudis, and they meet in Vienna. And what do they talk about? It's like straight out of Ecopeace. They talk about the environmental challenges that they both have, such as sandstorms and water issues, and how might they start to cooperate on these very basic issues. Sandstorms, water shortages, they don't respect borders. So they are, as our friends from Ecopeace would say, the low-hanging fruit. And their shared self-interest. And if they can actually start to work together on these issues, just maybe there might be sufficient trust to work on some of the harder issues. So that was really interesting. So I came up to him afterwards and spoke to him about Ecopeace, and he said, yeah, I know Guido, and I know Moonketh, I know them all, yeah. So they're obviously in contact. So that was really special. So what we're trying to do in terms of Israel, Palestine, and Jordan with Ecopeace is actually going on right now between some committed people from Saudi and Saudi Arabia and from Iran. That was really refreshing. We heard from Hans-Joachim Giesmann from Germany. He's head of the Berghoff Foundation, which actually is about peacemaking throughout the world. And fascinatingly, it was actually funded by some money from the Bosch Foundation. So Robert Bosch, you know, the white goods, the dishwashers and whatnot, and very important in my PhD dissertation, Robert Bosch, as a liberal left entrepreneur, was very anti-Nazi and managed to help a huge number of persecuted people, but as far as the compromises he had to make to survive and carry on doing good, he was actually engaged in making armaments for the regime. So we learned that even people who are good and trying to do good things in really pathological situations, there are contradictions, because life is messy. And so I was able to discuss that. And it was about challenges and lessons learned. And one of the most important things, a term that he uses that's not particularly a word in English, but in German, it translates to multi-partiality. Objectivity is a myth. It's impossible. Impartiality is a myth. But what you can do is, with empathy, hear the different sides, their points in a conflict, and you can show empathy. You know, no one side is completely wrong or completely right. Everyone has some sort of a claim. So multi-partiality, and how to do that without losing trust on either side. And interestingly, this foundation finds the Middle East too stressful, and they don't get involved in the Middle East, maybe where they should be involved the most. We heard from a couple of people from Canada, and the most impressive was a young woman named Michelle Sam, who comes from one of the, there's a proper term here, one of the indigenous tribes in British Columbia, and she called it contextual approaches to indigenous peoples' experiences of intractable conflict. And this has to do with the colonialism in Canada going back hundreds of years, and how the people there are really, really still suffering from the trauma of what was done to them, and how the issues are still really huge in Canada today. A man who's become a friend, Eugen Ko, a Chinese man with a German first name who lives in Australia. He works with Aboriginal communities, very traumatized Aboriginal communities in which the suicide rates are out of all proportion. And he's actually a psychiatrist, and he works with art therapy. Because art therapy makes a safe space for people to express their traumas in ways that they can't otherwise do through words. And it's long-term stuff. And he spoke about his work. I'm skipping over a whole bunch here. Eva Grossman, who's a very interesting woman, Polish, very quick to tell me that she was partly Jewish, and I wondered if she has a connection with Mendel Grossman, my photographer hero from Łódź. So we've got to work that one out. She's from Northern Ireland. She's living in Northern Ireland, works very closely with Lord Alderdice. And she's done a lot of work with loyalist bands in Northern Ireland, how music is used to strengthen the extremism. And how can music be transformed for other purposes? A wonderful woman from Syria, Manas Ghanem. She is an artist, and she represents artists in Syria. And she showed some of the artwork that young people and older people are making right now. In fact, have been making through the whole conflict. A lot of portraiture and other art. Very, very moving. And she told me a story. When she was a child, she believed all the propaganda about Jewish people being devils. And this is in the 70s. And her mother took her to buy some cloth from a merchant in the souk. And he was this really lovely man, and he sold them some very beautiful cloth, and the tea and the whole rituals when you're shopping in the Middle East. And as they were leaving the shop, her mom said, "That man is Jewish." And that's something that really changed her life about how she'd been brainwashed towards a particular group. So we had some really good chats. And I hope to stay in contact with Manas. She has actually been working in Greece, in Lesbos, with the UN, working with the refugees. I gave my talk, which on the second day of the conference, which is about the artwork I've done with Palestinian children. And as, again, creating a safe space for the kids to express their frustrations, their traumas, their hopes, and that was it was really terrifically well received, and I was felt very validated. After me came a man named Chris Keeble, who was a war hero in the Falklands. He was in charge of the unit that liberated 100 some odd hostages that were being held by the Argentinian troops. How did he do it? He knew, and the Argentinian soldiers at that point knew that the Brits knew that they were going to win. The Argentinians were surrounded. How did he do it? He persuaded the Argentinians that they could surrender with great dignity. And he did that, and they conducted some rituals, and the hostages were freed. So this is about people who are the vanquished, not being humiliated. The next talk were two psychotherapists from New Orleans. They spoke about community leaders and boundary crossing, and the differences in clergy between those who stay only in their communities and those who cross boundaries into other communities. And this was